are joined now by Brian Christopherson, Husker247. BC, what's going on, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
BC. Well, we broke the string, so we got all the superstitions and nonsense out of the way. It was all out of context, and you were the last one to sit down, and we still won, so it's all good. We broke that home, don't step on the crack thing. Well done.
You're saying it's almost like the uniform thing where it doesn't matter at all, really.
Yeah, although we still have to check the all whites off the box since Minnesota. What was that, 15 or 14 or whatever?
Yeah.
Been a while for that one.
I still don't think it matters.
You're right. It 100% doesn't. Typically, the better team that night wins.
Yeah, I'm sorry about Saturday. I was late. Like, I didn't get into the press box till like 9:40. I kind of took my sweet time getting out the door for that 11 a.m. kickoff. So
that was like everybody else at the stadium. I was a little surprised at the slow start.
Yeah, I was messing with the mojo a bit, but yeah, they got through it, and I'll be up there early Saturday if we want to try to replicate anything from the early weeks.
Yeah, Bruntz actually had a hint of kindness to him, so it was fine.
Bruntz is actually one of the nicest guys. I don't
know.
I think he's always kind. I agree with you.
Of course you do.
Miller North guys stick together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah, I get it.
Did you work at the Hoofbeat, Ravi?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I succeeded him as the sports editor of the Hoofbeat.
Oh, nice.
Well, is that why you can't write?
Oh, I don't write anymore. I'm very, very bad at it.
I can't write anymore either.
He is good with numbers, though, B.
Dude,
imagine that.
Yeah. Writing is hard.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I kind of can't imagine he's good with numbers. I don't know why I think that, but I do.
I know. Big standardized test guy.
I love standardized tests.
B, let me ask you something. If you're gonna have some takeaways from last Saturday that you think are portable to this Saturday, give me like the top one or two.
Am I wrong that for the most part the run fits? I felt like even though by the end of it the numbers weren't great, I felt like the run fits were better a little bit than previous weeks. And I know obviously the long explosive happened where he bounced it outside, but I felt like it was more sturdy.
Yeah.
They need to take the next step with that. But that was something where I thought, I think when they look back on it on tape, and Rhule said that, I think at one point, it might have been right after the game. I don't know if it was after he saw the film, but he thought that was improved. And so that's something that I think is going to be key, because I would stress what he stressed Monday in his press conference. And that's, even though they have the number one passing stats, Lincoln Riley teams will run it. And they're definitely gonna. I mean, they're averaging more than 200 yards per game on the ground, and so they're gonna bang on that door like everybody else has. And so Nebraska's got to be solid with their fits. They got to tackle really well in space in this game. And I thought there were some things in that game against Northwestern which you can take from that. I also think on offense, the patience with Emmett throughout the game is something that you can carry forward into one like this, where it didn't always come easy, but you kept beating on that drum. He ends up with 27 carries, and even though the third down conversions on the last drive, some of them were like 3rd and 7. I thought early in the game, especially those first 3 drives, they really found some stuff with the run game that could be taken and used this week. So I would say that just I like the patience with Emmett, and the run fits a little bit. I saw improvement. I think those are things, if they can keep with that, gives you a fighting shot.
Shafe brought up something yesterday. Sorry, Ravi.
Oh, you're good.
That was interesting, because I've had a couple of guys on social media. One of them, Austin, is always talking to me about how he quietly likes Dylan in the clutch, right? Kind of when his back's against the wall, or 2 minutes, or is that Has he done it enough times where you think that's becoming a thing that we can appreciate?
Well, yeah, I think so because we just get a small sample size with football. Unfortunately, they only get 12 regular season games so far. You've had 8, and he's had 2, drives where, if you want to actually count Michigan State when they were it felt down and out there a little bit late in the third quarter, and then he hit the big pass to Barney. He's kind of had like 3 drives like that where things looked bleak. People were probably talking him down on social media for some plays that had happened, and he responds. And I think one of the things that's interesting about Dylan is he's talked about this. I asked him yesterday about it. Is like during the off season, guys will visualize things. Of course, that's been done forever. But he visualizes stuff that can go wrong too, and like how you respond to it. Like, so he kind of has tried to train his mind throughout the off season for how to deal with adversity, knowing that it's not going to be all ice cream and sprinkles like on a game day. You're going to have those moments where it's tough, and he shows that.
Do you like
he shows that. Like,
here's some sprinkles.
I like sprinkles. I'd throw some gummy. You ever throw some gummy bears on there too? Like
I am not wasting good gummy bears on trashy ice cream. I eat the gummy bears plain.
First of all, what's wrong with you?
What do you mean?
You don't like ice cream?
It's highly overrated.
Out of your mind. You're
gummy
out of
bears
your mind.
are
You're out of your mind. Listen, I'm here to agree that the combination of gummy bears and ice cream is not for me, but ice cream is phenomenal.
Okay, so ice cream was a bad example. I should have said like
I do like the sprinkles. It's kind of cute. He's like sprinkles. Even though I feel like we're too old for that.
Totally off topic here.
I'm not too old for that. I'm sorry.
But so my wife used to work at a hotel that College World Series teams would stay at, and they had like a breakfast bar with pancakes and everything like that. And she'd like make the pancakes fresh for them. If they lost, she'd look at them and go, "Sprinkles are for winners."
That's right.
Wow. All right, B, you're validated. Eat all the sprinkles you want.
BC's a winner. He gets sprinkles.
Wow. All right, back to young Dylan.
I would say yes to your question with some sprinkles on top of my answer.
Oh shoot.
Dylan would definitely get sprinkles after last week. So BC, I've been asking this question all week about how people felt about the offensive game plan. Seems like you were okay with how it went and sticking with Emmett as much as they did last week. Do you think there's a way against a USC team that isn't going to limit possessions to get Dylan and Emmett in a groove together at the same time earlier?
I mean, that's the ultimate question. You got to find some stuff, in that passing game in the intermediate that you feel like you can, where you can take advantage of them. But I don't mind too if you go heavy with Emmett and you're trying to get. The thing about Emmett Johnson the last month or so is when you give him the football, even on the plays that haven't been that well blocked, he's managed to usually every other carry is going to get you something where, like, if you give that guy the ball 2 times, you're probably going to be 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 type situations. And I think like this offense feels pretty good about Dylan and those receivers, what they can do in those spots. They're coming off a game where they just had a possession to win it, where they had 4 of those kind of 3rd and mediums they converted. And so I'm not saying it's just like run Emmett 1st and 2nd down all game long. Obviously that's not what's going to happen, but I can see where you do still lean on number 21 and you kind of bank on the idea that you're going to get into good down and distances. And then Dylan has said it throughout the season, 3rd downs, the down you got to shine as a Big Ten quarterback. And I think that this is going to be a game where that's everything. And there's, both sides I think are going to get their chances to get off the field on those 3rd and 4 type spots and who can do it the most. I'm looking at USC, they're 47th in 3rd down defense, so they're all right. Nebraska's 36th in 3rd down offense. So that's the spot. Get yourself in some positions where you're not having to protect on 3rd and 9 in this game, and avoid some of, the thing that killed them in the first half on Saturday against Northwestern was they had 2 great drives going, and then they had just 2 massive negative plays that just cropped up. Like one of them was just unfortunate. You almost hate to bring it up. It's the sack when Teddy, I think, it buckled on him, and you had the 8-yard sack. But then, Emmett had like the 6-yard loss on the next possession when you were inside the 35. And so those are the plays you just somehow, some way, you can't have those massive losses when you've got it going downhill like they sort of did last week. And I think that kind of disrupted that game.
When you look at, because there's some serious stats, I'm just kind of running through a few of them, and I don't hate analytics. Sometimes I just use them to pit it against what I actually see. This is also coming from a knucklehead that every week on Huddle finds tendencies and ratios, so take this with a grain of salt. Do you feel like, is there a disconnect between USC's offensive data, especially their advanced analytics, and actually what you see when you watch them, or do they kind of line up? I have a follow-up too based on the response.
I don't know. I mean, they some of their numbers are definitely skewed by those first couple weeks. I mean, that really lifts them up in some of the rankings. Everybody played teams kind of like that, but that helped them out. The thing about their group is, and Butler said it, and this is my takeaway. They had those running back injuries, and you're reading about, they're down to their 3rd guy, they're down to their 4th guy. You're like, okay.
Which, by the way, I think they're playing, but it's just me.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, they can put whoever in there, and they still got a dude who's talented, who's like a high 3-star, 4-star type guy that can really play. And so that's what stands out about their offense to me. I think Maeva obviously has evolved as a quarterback since his first start last year. I think he's at 8 percentage point higher completion rate than he was a season ago. I do think, though, and this is where you hope Nebraska can get busy. If you can get some pressure on him, they got to get a little more pressure on him. He will give you a few chances, and that's where the Huskers have to capitalize. If you go back to that game a season ago in Los Angeles, I know, again, his first start and all that, but that game was lost by Nebraska because of the red zone and because they had 3 or 4 passes, frankly, they should have intercepted, that not only did they not pick off, they turned into like big USC plays. And so I think he's going to have a couple moments like that. He's a more polished quarterback this year than last, but he's still going to put a couple up where it's like you're going to have a chance to make him pay for it. And in those moments, Nebraska has to make the play they didn't last year. So I didn't really answer your specific question there, but I that's what I think of with Maeva. I think he's a really good quarterback, and he can get in a groove sometimes. But there are moments where you'll see a little what we saw, I think, at that game at the Coliseum.
It just seems like, obviously, studying Lincoln for so long and SC, there's something that happens during and in games where they're not as efficient, or games play out differently than the offensive numbers say. And I can't just pin it on the defense, and I'll get to them in a bit here, but I don't know if it's the sequential play calling. I don't know if it's I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's the same sort of disconnect why the fans have yet to really embrace somebody that's been as successful as Riley has been, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Their fans are tough on him.
Yeah, they are. I think they expected him to just waltz in and, get to 10, 11 wins right away. And I also think they probably did something that's been done around here. You underestimate this league sometimes, like how physical it is, the grind. Obviously, it's tough for them with some of the travel they're in. Like their 11 a.m. kick at Illinois and all that stuff. But I think their fan base probably undersold how tough this league is week in, week out. I think a lot of people do that, honestly. I think that's what Rhule tries to tell people a lot, and I agree with him on it. It's one of those leagues where there's hidden games in there that beat you up that people don't recognize. It's that game like against the Michigan State or somebody where maybe they're not the best team, but it's a fight, and you still feel it the next day, and all that wears on you. And I think that's what they've had to kind of deal with, in this league, which is why it's a benefit to them that they're coming off a bye. They've had some time to heal up and kind of get their minds right and get ready for this stretch run. And they're thinking they can be a playoff team if they put it together too still. So they're going to come in with a fresh mind. And I know Nebraska's fired up for this crowd to be behind them and all that too. I think USC is going to come and embrace that as well. So that's what should make it interesting.
BC, when you're looking at Southern Cal's offensive numbers and they can seem super daunting, how much do you put into the fact that against common opponents, they scored 45 versus Michigan State, Nebraska scored 38, they scored 31 against Michigan, Nebraska scored 27, so not largely different offensive outputs against common teams. And then in 3 road games, they're averaging 29 points as opposed to their 42. Like, how much stock do you put in that as you try and figure out what to expect from them on Saturday?
Yeah, I think you do some. They just haven't been as good away from home. And, the thing is Nebraska can't do inside their walls is, I think, put any stock in it. It's just like you got to go into it like you're going to get the best version of USC but kind of just that's where you start, and then you kind of focus on yourself. Like, how do we get the best version of us, to max out? And if, Rhule says this every week, it's like if they're just flat better, so be it. That happens sometime in sports. But if you go put your best product on the field, I think, and maybe it's what Damon's getting at with the disconnect and sort of the choppy play from USC. If Nebraska can play its best football for even like 3.5 quarters in this game, they'll be there. They can win this thing. It's that question of, can Nebraska get past its own choppiness that has sort of popped up in mid quarters? And I understand this is the Big Ten. The other team's got scholarship guys too. They're going to make a run at you. We have to factor that into that conversation. But there's also been some football parts from Nebraska's own end that they would say, when you look at the film, yeah, there's been a bad quarter or so that has just crept up in some of these games. And if they could take a baseball bat to that on Saturday and play more complete in those middle parts the whole way, I like Nebraska's chances if that's the team that shows up.
BC, when you're taking a look at kind of Coach Eckler and his impact, and you had to compartmentalize it, are you taking the overall effectiveness of the actual special teams play or the infectious behavior that those guys constantly seem to exude? Can you separate the two, or they go hand in hand?
I think they hold hands, because it's just like such a mindset he brought, like from day one, to that those guys, I think, are like, I'm in on this. Like, okay, we're going to be good at this. Like, it's just like you can't just always like say it and then do it. But he has the track record, and then he's got the brain for it. Like, he's just such a good a scheme guy and does little things I don't even understand that are going to work. And he sees it on film. He sees an opening or a crack that an opponent gives their unit, and they take advantage. I mean, you've got like Urban Meyer breaking down like Kenneth Williams' return and, stuff that just looks sort of standard to us. There's everybody doing their own part on that, like getting good blocks and holding them and just like Kenneth Williams knowing where to trust his blocks on that. And that's some coaching that goes on to make a play like that happen. But I think it started, your question, Damon, with like one of his first press conferences. I've said this before, but it reminded me of the old Tim Miles quote, like, don't put that crap on me. Like when the Huskers were having the good season, like, whatever the history's been, that's not on my shoulders. And Eckler had kind of a line like that. Like, I know walk-off field goals. I know, like, being number one in, a punt coverage and kick and punt returns and all that. That's what I know. And he spoke that to their guys, and they're like, all right, that's what we're going to be now. And so the thing that was awesome from that game was that punt by Archie that was 53 yards in the third quarter, and there's 5 Huskers around the Northwestern return man. And he gets nothing on it. I mean, that to me sums up what he's done as much as anything.
Don't put that crap on me.
BC,
there it is.
As you look towards the game on Saturday, what stylistically do you think this needs to look like if Nebraska comes out with a win?
I do think they've got to be that rugged football team that leans on them a little bit with the run. I'm not just like run the damn ball guy, like saying it like that. But I think it's got to be Emmett's one of the best guys. I feel like he's one of the best guys on this roster. I think he's kind of in the groove. I think you lean on that when you can, and when it's going well, keep going with it. So I'd like a heavy dose of number 21. Get yourself into third and manageables when you can. And I think they've got to put some heat on Maeva. It's got to be a game where he feels uncomfortable early on, maybe like first, second series. Someone busts through there, sort of like, Javen hurdling a guy and getting Aiden Childs in the first game. That was a tone setter. That was like a shot to the other side, like, hey, this is what we have on our mind today defensively. And Aiden Childs, I don't think, got that out of his head the rest of the day. And so this can't be a game where it's just about PFF stats on quarterback hurries where you're in the area or something. They got to hit him a little bit and knock him around and make him feel that pressure.
You know what's interesting? Which side would you pick as more telling or revealing of the stats? So Nebraska is top 25 in points per game defensively. Okay, they give up 19.6 points per game. There's 2 teams ahead of them in Michigan and Northwestern that give up 17-4 and 18-1 respectively. Nebraska scored 10 more points than what they're giving up on average against 2 teams that are defensively ranked ahead of them in points per game. Does that say more about the questions we have about Nebraska's offense? Or does the fact that they're only giving up 19.6 per game defense say more? Is it more perplexing about the questions that we actually have about the defense?
Man, that's what when you're saying that, you've got a point there. I know. Are you which side of the ball are you aiming that at?
Yeah, I
can tell.
Yeah, right. But well, it's neither. It's just the narratives that surround both units are different. Then I pit it against what the. So I look at, okay, what are the offenses actually doing against our defense that are supposed to be pretty good, and what are the defenses doing against our offense that are supposed to be doing? The narratives that surround both units are drastically different, though, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think both units honestly have taken their turns taking some arrows from people.
I could see that.
I think the offense, I don't know, there was maybe an expectation it was going to come a little easier with less choppiness in the water, I guess.
Yeah, so I think my point is I think the defense never got the benefit of the doubt like the offense and the special teams to start the season.
Yeah. Oh, I think people probably in August when they were thinking about the defense, they're like, okay, it's probably going to be a work in progress. I don't really know about this defensive line. Heard the hell on wheels comment, but we'll see. And so I think the people who have been reasonable have always kind of expected that was going to be a unit where some guys are working it out on the fly a little bit. I mean, you've got some guys who are playing way more significant snaps than they've ever played in college football. I think the offense, honestly, has probably taken the brunt of more criticism that I've seen, in part because we did probably build up in the offseason that the O-line was like a strength, and they've had their ups and downs. And I think the sacks in football is such a play that is so demoralizing. And when you have like a game where you give up 9 sacks, and then there was Michigan where you felt like they really got their horns out and got after Raiola, I think because of that and some of those specific plays, they've probably taken criticism that doesn't exactly match with. They're actually like 31st in scoring offense, nationally. So I mean, they've put up points. They put up 35 a game. They've made a step. I guess it's now, can they make that next step? And we'll see what they're made of here in November. That's the beauty of it. They have a chance to do that.
BC, this last one for me on this, you bring up those scoring stats and things like that, and I tend to agree with you, but I also know that people have been super frustrated with the offense, and particularly in some of the last few games. Like, what do you think we're measuring the offense against? Because it seems like what we've seen isn't good enough, even though it's dramatically better than it has been the last 2 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're measuring it against the idea of what we thought the O-line could be, like, just like kind of, it was going to be that group because it was so veteran laden. I think there was a perception going into the season that they would just, I guess, own some games a little bit more than they have sometimes. And it's been up and down. Like I said, there's been some good things in there too. But I think that's what it's being weighed against, is that idea, like in the summer, like, okay, this is the year where I feel like the strength of this team can be up front. And sometimes it has felt, hard, like on some short down and distances, it's felt hard. Like, is Nebraska, do you have confidence in them on that 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, that they're going to get it? Some of those situations. And so I think that's what they're being judged against, is that idea of people thought it might come a little easier. Maybe that was unfair. This is Big Ten. It's hard. And, they've had some injuries up front, but I think that's what people are putting, they're weighing the results against that summer perception, I guess.
Let me ask you, I'll get you out on this, BC. And I asked Shafe a similar question as kind of the Nebraska temperament of the running back room over the last, he's pretty passionate about it. And so I asked him the question, we seem to be okay with, we like Emmett a ton. Some will even call him Nebraska's best offensive player. I don't feel like we felt like that at the beginning of the season, even though Coach Holgorsen had him. He got all the credit for, quote unquote, finding EJ on the bench last year, which I don't agree with either. But why do you think we're so reluctant to give Coach Barthel any credit openly?
Yeah, I guess it's
do you feel like that? I don't want to put that on you if you feel differently. It feels like to me he doesn't get any credit for the development.
Yeah. I think there is some of that out there. I think that's a true. You're reading what a lot of people seem to say or suggest sometimes. I think he's done a good job. And I don't know if I'm in the minority on that. Like, if you look at last year, how he developed, Dante Dowdell, everybody was crying when he left. Going into the summer last year, he was not a known quantity at all. Like, he was a guy who had a lot to learn, a lot to grow in, and was like 4th on the depth chart. He developed them into a nice 1-2 combo with Emmett. I honestly think this year they've got some guys behind EJ that can get some stuff done. It's just that Emmett's like, it's like what Damon said the other day. You're in these close games. Who are you going to play? You're going to go to the guy who's your top dog, right? Like, and you wouldn't want it any other way. There are certain games where it's like, we are going to have to lean on this guy for 25 carries. And so we don't see as much of Mosey or Mekhi Nelson. I'm not saying they don't need to keep pounding the pavement and see what they can get in the offseason to add another element to that room. They can go do that. I think they were working on that last off season, and it didn't work out. We all know that. But you have right now one of the better running backs in the conference and nationally. And they've got some young guys behind him that are coming along. And if you can add to that in the offseason, you've got something pretty good going. So I don't, amongst the question marks or things to talk about, running backs is not like the biggest thing for me. I think they got one of the best players at that position. He's still healthy. And some other guys might actually have more to their game than we know. They just haven't had as many reps somewhat because Emmett's been so good and you've been in all these close games.
That's our guy, Brian Christopherson, Husker247. BC, appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, B.